So thank you for joining today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about um, all of the offerings that Andrew has. It's a building a team that loves Mondays, and he offers some really great team building courses. And I know that I think a lot of us need that at this time of year, especially in the beginning of the year when we're starting fresh with the new year. We want to do something to get everybody back on the same page and involved and working together. And we did that here at Simco, and we just did really team building exercises that at first I thought, well, I've been with this team for a long time. I don't need to know anything more about them than I already know. And actually, it was so great. I had so much fun. And I'm probably the first one to be a little bit more reluctant to do things like that. But it was so much fun learning more about my coworkers' interests and things that they enjoy doing, places that they've traveled, things that they've done. And it was really a wonderful experience. So I thought that, my HR clients would benefit from at least hearing about it and seeing if there's something that sparks your interest that might work for your group. So I'm going to let Andrew take off with it, and I'm here to answer any questions or facilitate in any way.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Yeah,
You're
so
welcome.
we got connected a bit ago, and I've known various people from Simco for years and
Mhm.
years, I guess probably decades at this point. So it's really cool that we get to kind of team up on some of this stuff. And Melissa brought up team building, and that's one of the things that I run. And also do things around performance management, do things around engagement, as well as leadership development and wellness as well. So kind of a wide swath of a lot of the key things that you might be looking for, especially if you're looking to help your people, right? Because people are looking for often a lot more from their employers than they did 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. I can
Mhm.
remember, my dad, when he showed up to work, it was like, you show up, you do your work, and you go home. Even before that, right? It was, for his grandparents, it was, you kind of leave it at the door. There's no expectation other than that kind of transactional, I'm doing work and getting paid. Nowadays, people are expecting more purpose from their work. They're expecting more opportunities for growth. They're expecting more chances for them to contribute at their highest level, not just what is maybe stated in the job description. So all those factors, plus experiencing COVID and all these changes that have happened since then, the workforce is a little different, and people may be looking for something that maybe hasn't applied before. So I'm going to go through kind of a list of some of the stuff that I do, and I don't want to do this in like a super boring, like read it to you kind of presentation. My goal is that this can be interactive and you guys can get exactly what you want to know. So Melissa's been sending out some emails and some information about stuff. So likely there was at least one or two things in there that piqued your interest of like, ooh, that sounds kind of interesting. And so we'll kind of use that in the next minute here to kind of curate exactly the main things you guys want to hear most about. Before I do that though, I do want to talk about one key concept, and that is related to trees, and specifically around chopping down trees. And using the metaphor from, I think it's Stephen Covey, right? The idea of chopping down a tree and sharpening your axe. And for many of you, you're in businesses where you chop down a lot of trees. There's stuff that's got to happen. You're doing people's taxes for them. You are serving people by taking care of their kids. There's a lot of different ways that you may be actively doing things in your role and your employees in their roles. And you'll need to consider, if we're only ever chopping down trees, eventually those axes are going to get dull, or eventually we're going to get tired, or eventually we're going to be, in a sense, maybe missing out on some technological innovation, right? We're still using the axe when we could have moved to a saw. We're still using a saw, we could have moved to a chainsaw, right? It's because we didn't take that time to slow down for just a minute to reevaluate things. And so when we're looking at chopping down trees versus sharpening the axe, we recognize that in order to sharpen the axe, we can't chop down trees at the same time, right? I think we probably could try, but it'd probably be really dangerous. And so I'm kind of curious for you guys, what's the right ratio? If you're looking at your team, what's the right ratio of sharpening to chopping? And just like drop something in the chat, like 95-5 or 90-10 or like 99-1, right? Like what's the right ratio for what you think your team needs and would make them their best at work? 70-30. Let's see. What's Angela got? Cindy's going. 75-25. So let's go with a conservative amount, right? We've got actually we need a lot of help, says Angela. We're like 50-50 really at this company. We need a lot of sharpening here. Let's pretend it's super conservative, really, really conservative. Let's say you're spending 5% of your employees' time making them better at their jobs, enabling them to do their best work. Okay. And many of you are probably like, yeah, we more than that, right? But let's start small, right? So that really, if we're working 40 hours, you're looking at about 2 hours per week. So nothing extraordinary. But then you pause and think about, well, when was the last time that we took those 2 hours to make our people better in any given week? And some of you have continuing training, which is awesome. And I think that's absolutely critical. And a lot of that is often, super skills based or hyper related to their roles. But we also want to consider, outside of just the skill enhancement, how can we make them better in other aspects? How can we make them more fulfilled in the role? How can we get them more engaged, more interested in the work that they're doing? How can we set them up so that they're excited about their future at this organization? How can we make sure that they are being the most productive, using the right tools that are available currently? Because that landscape keeps changing, right? And even at 2 hours a week, there's still probably more that could be done. But I think most organizations would look at the amount of time spent chopping and the amount of time spent sharpening, and it probably doesn't even get close to 5% of that time spent sharpening. So as we go forward, I want you to consider, okay, obviously I know I need to create that sharpening time. And the biggest challenge usually is timing, right? We're all busy. We've all got a ton of things going on, and there's a million business crises that are always demanding our attention. And it can get tough to take a step away from chopping things down and getting things done so that we can do it better, right? And that's always my goal, is that the training fits in with your systems, with what you're already doing, and we do it in a way that enhances what's going on with your organization. It acts as a true sharpening for what's going on. So in Melissa's case, it was pure team building that we did. There was no other agenda other than people getting closer to people. But in a hybrid work environment where they are kind of asynchronous and not in touch a lot with certain parts of the team, it was like a revelation. It was awesome to be able to connect with people that maybe they hadn't had a water cooler conversation with. And now all of a sudden, now it's easier to collaborate with them. I now know more about them. I know where they'd want to live. I know more about their kids, right? And now it's easier to maybe ask that favor. It's easier to move that project forward because we've got this a little bit deeper rapport that we built. And so that's just the team building side that Melissa talked about. So the stuff I'm going to get into today, all has to do with this book. So this book is actually coming out this month. You can see it in this fancy schmancy sign behind me. It's called The Team That Loves Mondays. And that's the whole concept. That's the through line through everything that I do, is how can you actually enjoy what you're doing? Because I'm convinced that most people, they show up and they want to do good work. Now, this is most people. There's always bad eggs, right? And sometimes you have one, and sometimes it's tough to get rid of them, right? But I think most people, they want to show up. They want to do a good job. And if they can, they'd like to have maybe a decent time doing it, right? They'd like to not be miserable as they get their work done. What often happens, though, is they're not able to. They don't have the systems in place. Maybe there's something in leadership going on. Maybe there's company policies or whatever else that's trapping them. And maybe sometimes it's themselves. Maybe they're getting their own way from creating the engagement and the happiness and the joy and the effectiveness that they're after. Okay. So everything I talk about today circles back into this core concept of how to get the team to love Mondays. Okay, so these are the different trainings that we can do. Okay, I'm going to quickly talk about all of them today in the 45 minutes that we have left. And what I want to do though is I want to spend more time on the ones that are more interesting for those that are here. Okay, so I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Look these over, and as many as you want, just type in the chat what numbers you're most interested in. Okay, so as you're going, like, oh, Unleash Your Genius, that sounds good. Maybe number 1. Oh, Jolt Leadership, maybe number 4, right? Whatever it is, right? Type out those numbers, 1, 4, 7. Okay, great. Those are the ones that you're most interested in. Okay, so take a look, take a couple seconds here, and I'll know where to spend the most time for you guys. We got 4 and 7. I'll be writing these down to make sure I spend the appropriate amount of time. All right, so what else we got? Oh, there we go. There's more of our numbers. 269, 269, 469, 469, 267, 267, and 246. My apologies to all the parents in the room. 2, 4, and 6. I was shocked when my 7-year-old brought that home. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I thought that was just a weird TikTok thing. All right, so for what we'll focus on today, I'm going to spend most of our time in 2, in 4, and in 6, and then some extra time in 7 and 9. And then for 1, 3, 5, and 8, we'll just do a quick breeze through. All right, all that sound good? Sweet. Okay, so the goal today is I want this to be as interactive as possible. So if as I'm going, you've got a quick question about something that's going on, raise your hand, drop something in the chat, whatever, even maybe go off mute and just like say something, like go for it. All right. We're here to interact together. We're here to have some fun, but also here to kind of open up some possibility and get your questions answered. All right. So, going to breeze through this one. Unleash Their Genius. So this is using Patrick Lencioni's working genius model, and he's got 6 different types of genius that each of us has. And you can kind of see the list here. It goes from wonder and invention. Think of that as like brainstorming, to discernment and galvanizing. Think of that as making something better and getting buy-in for it. And then enablement and tenacity. Who's doing it, and let's get it done. Okay, so it kind of goes through, if you think about a project life cycle, kind of starts as an idea, it moves into this kind of improvement cycle, and improvement phase, and figuring out who's doing what and when, and then finally getting done and finished. Okay, and so each of us has 2 of these things that we would consider geniuses, these things that you absolutely thrive in. You can't help but want to spend your time there. Okay, for me, mine are invention and discernment. I love making things, creating things, coming up with ideas, but I also love discernment. I love looking at something and saying, what could make that better? Like, that didn't quite land. Like, what would make that just a little bit, this is what we could do. What if we did this? Right. And so that part of the process is something I love. Here's the challenge. Often people lean into their geniuses to the detriment of the rest of the team. Have you ever been in a team meeting and you're working on, okay, now who's going to do this and how are we going to get it done? And then you have someone like me that raises their hand and say, hey, what if we just changed the whole project and we just did this instead? And you want to pull your hair out because you're like, we're almost done. We're trying to land the plane here, and you're trying to bring us back up into the clouds. And so what can happen a lot of times is we naturally gravitate towards our genius, but we also can let our geniuses get in the way of getting the right things done. And then we also, on the other side of genius, we have frustrations. We have things that absolutely are draining to us. Okay, and this is the type of work that just you don't you don't want to do. It's on your calendar and you keep skipping it. You keep dragging it to the next day and hope maybe it'll get done by somebody else, right? So as wild as it is for me, that's enablement and tenacity, particularly tenacity, like that, like sit down, do that thing in the spreadsheet, answer those 5 emails in a row that you really don't want to do, but you have to do, right? Those are the type of things for me that drain my energy. Okay. Now, for other people, it's the opposite. They love that checklist. They love those 5 things in a row that they get to knock out really quick, and they thrive on that. And so, using these geniuses, 2 things happen. You can get your team to collaborate better because if I'm aware that maybe Melissa is more of a tenacity person, and she's aware that I am not a tenacity person. We can help to shore up each other's geniuses a little bit, where I can lean on her ability to crank things out and get things done. And maybe she can lean on my ability to be inventive. Like, hey, I just typed up this email. What do you think about it? What can make this better? Right. And now I can kind of invent and discern and make something a little bit better as a way to help her. Right. So that's one thing that happens. And then the other thing that happens is now we've got a firm understanding of how projects work, how getting things done works, and where most of us fit in that process, where we each do our best work in that. Okay. So that is unleashing their genius. That's one type of workshop that I run. All right, so this one got a bunch of votes, the motivational vitamins, okay? And this one actually ties in really closely to Jolt leadership training. And so I'll kind of echo some of these thoughts into Jolt as well. And so with the motivational vitamins, there are 3 of them. And these are the essential needs that all people have when it comes to their work, like across the board. People desire these things. Okay. And it's done by research out of the University at Rochester. They've actually created this huge global theory, which is absolutely fantastic. And they've got a lot of people and a lot of buy-in from other places. Such a big theory that they've got 6 sub-theories under it. The core of it, though, there's 3 motivators. Okay. And I've named them the performance enhancing vitamins. Okay. You've heard of performance enhancing drugs, right? Naughty, not good for your health, cheating, right? But you look at performance enhancing vitamins, it does give you that unfair advantage, but it's legal and it is necessary. It's needed. Okay. So each of these, vitamin A stands for autonomy, vitamin B stands for belonging, and vitamin C stands for competence. Okay. So I'll explain each of them. Autonomy, vitamin A. This is the freedom for yourself and for your employees to make meaningful decisions about their work. And that is paired with the trust to carry those things out. Okay. So think of it as if I'm in my role, I'm working for someone else. I have a scope of work that I'm allowed to do, right? I'm allowed to answer my emails in whatever way I see fit. I'm allowed to decide what tasks to work on first and which ones to work on second and which ones to keep punting until next week, right? I've been given that bandwidth in my role to do that. And now the opposite of autonomy would be something like micromanagement, right? Where you are not able to make those type of decisions, where someone's hovering over your shoulder, telling you what to do. Okay. So this is something that as there's more of that micromanagement type of feel, or as there's less trust that they've been given to do their best work, this starts to become a frustration for people. And so all of these vitamins, they have different levels, and these levels vary at any given day and really any given month. And what can happen is when they are chronically low for a long period of time, that's where we're running into burnout. And that's often where you have surprise, I'm quitting happen, right? Like, what happened? Like, I thought everything was okay, right? Likely one of these vitamins was low for too long and they needed to find a way to fix it because they couldn't find a way to fix it through your organization. Vitamin B, belonging. It's a sense of genuine connection and inclusion, and this makes people feel valued, right? They're a part of something bigger than themselves. Okay. And so with some of the Melissa's work that we did with Simco, that was team building, right? That was building up this belonging component for people where like, man, I work with all these people, but I don't even know them, right? I don't even know anything about them. And so this can help to create those connections. And so that's kind of like that teamwork factor. But then also that's an alignment factor. Am I on purpose here? Am I understanding of the mission of what we're up to? Am I on board with that? Because I've worked at organizations where I haven't been on board with it, and it was very difficult for me to care about what I was doing. It was very difficult for me to be invested in any of our outcomes. Okay. And eventually there was an organization where I couldn't find a way to care, and eventually I needed to move on from that. Last one here, vitamin C, competence. And this is the confidence that comes from growing skills, mastering challenges, and seeing your contributions make a real impact. This is also understanding where you fit in the organization and where you're headed in the organization or where you're headed in your career. So think of competence less as how good you are at something and more of how good you're becoming at something. Do I have opportunities to improve this aspect of myself? Am I gaining useful skills in my job? Am I gaining opportunity to interface with clients or with customers or with different parts of the company in ways that are helping me grow as a professional? Okay. So this is another essential need that people have. Okay. So I'm going to pause quick. Any questions on performance enhancing vitamins? Okay. So the core of that, the most important piece there is number one, the language. Because now if I'm in a meeting with my manager, I don't have to say like, man, I feel like I am not being challenged enough at work. Because if I say that to my manager, they're just going to give me more work. Right? There's, oh, great. Let me just pile 20 more deadlines on you. Here you go. Enjoy. Where what I'm really trying to say is I'm not feeling that sense of growth. Like I'm not doing work that's outside of my capability. I'm not stretched in a way that I'm looking to grow. And now using this language, I can ask for that. And my manager now understands not only is this a nice to have, this is essential. If I ignore that person long enough, they are going to leave or they are going to burn out or they are going to quiet quit and just step back from the work that they're doing. Okay. So understanding the essential nature of these vitamins changes the way managers listen and it changes the way that employees are willing to ask. They're willing to speak up for what they need because now they understand it and they understand it as a need and now they can advocate for it. All right. Secrets to 10x relationships. Be super quick with this one. This one is about influence building within organizations. So think of this as, especially for project managers or account managers or other teams where building cross-departmental collaboration is important. These are the secret sauce of how they can do that really, really well. And so it's these 10 X factors that go above and beyond in making someone more effective, making someone more personable, helping to build relationships, but also helping to get more things done. Because there's so many things where from the top down, it gets pushed down, right? This is what we want. Okay. Move this thing forward. And what happens a lot of times is there's not enough of that side to side that happens. There's not enough of that diagonal, right? That as far as relationship building, as far as people understanding each other, connecting with each other, working with each other. And so much goes top down that things get lost, objectives get missed, and you get to the end of a quarter, you get to the end of the year, and you say, why wasn't this objective hit? Well, I put it in so-and-so's court and they never got to it or whatever, right? And there's all these excuses that start bubbling up for why we missed our goals, why did we miss our targets. A lot of it is that side-to-side work hasn't been established. That ability of people to work together needs to be enhanced. Okay, number 4. This one had a lot of people interested, so we'll spend a little time here. Jolt leadership training. Okay, so this incorporates those principles that we talked about from the performance enhancing vitamins, and it kind of takes that and applies it from a managerial perspective, from an HR based perspective. Okay, and so think of this as kind of like performance management. Okay, so question for you guys, and we can drop this in the chat. What comes before a performance improvement plan? Okay, take 30 seconds here, drop something in the chat. What do you do before you put somebody on a PIP? What's important to have done first? See an employee, you're noticing they're struggling, maybe they keep showing up late, maybe they're not engaged in their work, maybe they have a bad attitude, whatever it is. You notice that something's not working. What are you trying to do in order to get them to do better work? Conversations. That's huge, right? Just open up a dialogue. Let's talk about this. What's going on here? So we got Angela, Cindy, research what's going on around, so like around them and perhaps around the organization. Do some sleuthing, do some digging, Why is this person engaging or disengaging in this particular way? Direct communication, ask questions. Beautiful. And you guys can keep track. Look at the documentation collected. Yeah. Like, what have we done so far? And Melissa's like, oh, yes, yeah, right. I specialize in that. I can help you. And so the unfortunate reality is sometimes we're not able to recover an employee. Sometimes they're either burned out, they've got stuff going on at home, they get disengaged, and they're just done. And they're showing up and fogging a mirror, but it's not helping us, and honestly, it's not helping them either. Um, but maybe there's some stuff that we can do before we get into performance, like heavy performance improvement plans and the eventual letting go. Like, what can we do before that to make sure that we've done our best, that we've really given them the opportunities to re-engage, and we've opened up opportunities and possibilities for them, right? So coaching and discussions, right? Open up the line of communication. So some form of performance review, right? Letting them know, here's what we're seeing, here's some of the metrics. Documentation. Sharon was just talking about working with them on goal setting, right? What can we work on? What's something you can improve on? Giving them training, right? Maybe they haven't gotten the tools that they need to be able to do their job right. Maybe there's some sort of probation or kind of probationary period, right? Where it's like, okay, things aren't going great, so let's take this a little bit more seriously for a little bit. The honest truth, though, a lot of times what happens before is nothing, is we haven't engaged them enough or done enough with them to help them get what they want. Now, many organizations, you guys already have a plan, you already have a system for when you're noticing that disengagement, and kudos to you for it. But many, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We're just tackling the issue as we see it, and sometimes we're not as proactive as we could be when people start to disengage or when people start to slack or not do quite as good a work as they have been. Okay, so let's compare a PIP versus a JOLT. Okay, so a PIP, this is documenting performance deficiencies, right? What are you doing wrong? The employee is the responsible party here. You need to shape up. Next one is often prep for termination. As many as 60 to 80% of performance improvement plans end with the employee being let go within 6 months. And they're often felt and seen as punitive, right? I'm in trouble, right? I'm going to detention, right? It's like, this is not good, okay? And so whenever we get to performance management, it usually starts to have kind of like a heavy feeling to it. Jolt is designed to be the opposite. So we're starting by identifying sources of joy and engagement. Like, what is it that lights you up? Why are you here? Why'd you take this job? Um, and we also have a shared responsibility now versus, hey, employee, you need to get your stuff together. Now it is, hey, as your leader, I have a role to play in this, and you do as well. And let's both take that role seriously, and let's each take on what we need to make this work. Next one here is to prep for success, okay, versus prepping for their exit. Okay, what does it take for them to be their best, to do their best, to show up in a way that we need here at this organization? And last one is positive, right? It's seen as I'm here to help you. I want to give you what you need here. Help me help you, in the greatest words of Jerry Maguire. So what is a jolt? J starts with joy in the job. And that is simply kind of, in a sense, using those performance enhancing vitamins and saying, what is it that lights you up? Or what is it that's gonna help you feel more engaged, feel more excited about what's going on? Then you move into O, obstacles to success. And you can think of this as like a conversation, right? Especially like a one-on-one, it's more private conversation. Obstacles to success. Okay, what's getting in your way, right? What does it take for you to be your best? And is there corporate policy? Is there another person that's making things harder for you? Is there something external? Is this and you may talk to Melissa about this, right? But if there's something personal going on, right, figure out a way to ask those questions or present things in a way where they can share that. Figure out what's getting in their way to doing that best. L, leadership responsibility. Instead of saying, hey, you need to do this, this now feels like, hi, I'm your manager and I'm here to help you. What can I do for you? How can I clear obstacles? How can I plug you back into joy so you can do your best work here? How can I, your manager, help to enable that? And that's L. Then we move to T, tactical plan. And all of this can be covered in like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour at most. You can go through all of these aspects and have a much stronger idea what somebody needs, especially if you're using something like the performance enhancing vitamins as a way to kick this off. So let's use that as an example. Let's say we're using the performance enhancing vitamins framework. They've taken the performance enhancing vitamins assessment called the vitamins assessment, and they've got some numbers, right? They can see what it is that's going on for them. So if I scroll back to this one, right? So this would be like an output that we could look at. And I can say, man, looks like, autonomy is a little bit low here, right? And often with a PIP, they come into the office, they sit on the other side of the desk. I'm on my side of the desk, right? And we got this antagonistic factor, right? We have this me versus you going on. But now when they've taken this assessment, they can come in. It feels more like it's me and you. And together we're now looking at this assessment and we're saying, well, what does this say? What is this telling us? Is it accurate? And what do you see here? What do you feel here? What's going on with you? And so now the employee can say, okay, well, within autonomy, I feel like I'm not I don't have the amount of leash. I don't have the amount of trust to do my job in the way that I need to, right? And so I feel like stuck. I feel trapped, right? And now they finally have the words and the language to speak about it because it may have been awkward. They may have had, certain social upbringing where talking about some of this stuff is a challenge for them, maybe cultural, and it could be any number of other things why this hasn't gotten fixed yet. And so now this allows us to have this conversation. And I, as the leader, am taking on my responsibility for what I can do for them. And then we can end this meeting with a tactical plan. Hey, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Phil about that red tape that keeps getting in your way, right? So Phil's one of my peers. We're going to see if we can work that out. For you, your tactical takeaways, your responsibility post-meeting, that may be you're going to go find that training that you need to get better at your role, right? Maybe you're, really frustrated with, clients and the initial part of interactions just feels either overwhelming or stressful or something else, right? Cool. Go find some training that's going to help you overcome that. It's going to make you better and able to do that, right? And now let's set a date. Cool. Let's come back. Let's revisit this in 2 weeks, and we'll talk more about it, right? And so that's all Jolt is where are you at as far as your joy and connection? What's getting in your way? How can I help? And let's figure it out. Let's do this together now. Okay. And this really changes the performance management dynamic from an antagonistic to a partnership. Okay. And a couple things are going to happen. As part of that partnership, you're going to discover that some people don't want partnership. Okay. But that's still data. That's still giving you information, right? Now, I've gone out of my way to do what I can to help them, to enable them to do their best work. And they are actively getting in their own way of doing their best work now. Okay. And now that sets up what do we need to do next, right? Maybe it's, hey, their skill set or their interests better fit a different role that we have here, right? Or maybe there's a hybrid type role, right? Where they mostly do this thing, but maybe 10, 20% of their time, they can do this thing that absolutely lights them up, right? And it's something that still needs to get done. And I was just doing it or I was assigning it to somebody else just because it had to happen. But man, that would fire them up if they could do that. So why not just have them do it, right? Now they've got another part of their day that they're fired up about, and the work is still getting done the way it needs to. Okay. So that is Jolt in a nutshell. And the way we work with it is, work with the team in a sense of understanding vitamins, the performance enhancing vitamins, but then also work with managers and helping them understand that Jolt conversation and how to do that well. Any questions relating to Jolt? Beautiful. All right, number 5. So we'll go super quick through this one. So mastering tech adoption. So this is a good way to think about it is we live in an era of AI and physical technology and digital technology, and everything is changing a mile a minute. And often it feels like some people adapt well to that change and they're with it. They got the latest smartwatch. They're standing in line to get their new phone, right? They've been using AI for 3 years already, right? And they taught you how to use it, right? And then there's other people that are trying to bury their heads in the sand. They still use their flip phone and they're trying to actively avoid this new software rollout where you're moving from paper to, using Excel or whatever else, right? These are the people that want to keep things the way they are. And this is extremely natural. And this is something that instead of fighting against it, you need to find a way to embrace it. Okay. And so we'll use the adoption curve as the backbone for this. So for those who have never seen this, when we're looking at technology or innovations, this is typically how things go. So a bell curve covers 100% of the population. The outskirts are kind of at the fringes. Those are less people. And in the middle, closer you get to the middle, is a lot more people. Okay, so the height of that graph represents the number of people that we're categorizing there. Okay, so the first category of people is our innovators. These are the people that waited in line for days to get the new tech. Okay, these are the people that are fired up about it. They can't find a use for it. They don't really care. They just want it. Right? It's new. It's different. It's cool. Then we have the early adopters. They see what the innovators are up to, and they went, after the line died down, they went in and bought it, right? They got it soon after, right? They're interested. They've been following it. They can maybe see a practical application. Let me try this out. Then we move to early majority. These are the people that, okay, I'm going to kind of hold back a little bit. I'm going to wait until this kind of plays out, and then I'll test it out, and then I'll see if it's going to work for me. Okay, so they wait for other people to kind of get hit by the bus first, and then if it's safe, then they'll cross the road. Okay, and that's the left side of the curve. These are people that are more open to change. These are those people that are more interested in new stuff. Okay, but then we move to the right side of the curve, and these are people that are less interested in new stuff, less interested in change. Okay, so we get to the late majority. These are the people that are kind of holding back. They're seeing some of those early majority people start to adopt some of this stuff. They're recognizing, let's use AI as a buzzy example, right? They're recognizing that using a large language model once in a while for stuff might be helpful, but maybe they're a little intimidated, or they're kind of confused on how to use it, or there's 20 different kinds out there. I don't know where to start. And so they're often waiting. They're often avoiding, or they are looking for proof that it's going to be useful, proof that it's going to be a game changer for them. But often, once that happens, they're all in. They're going to use it. They're going to be fine. And then we get to the laggards. These are the people that still have a flip phone, like my grandmother, right? These are the people that are avoiding any type of new anything for as long as humanly possible, right? They're gonna have a phone hooked up to their wall until they cut the phone cord outside, right? Like they're gonna have that thing there, and so they are gonna be often the toughest ones to move. But even they, if you can make the right connections, can make some progress and can actually start adapting tech better. So what I do in this type of workshop is I split the room into two groups. We do a quick assessment to figure out where people fall on the curve. So that's kind of fun. They kind of figure out like, ooh, I'm an early adopter. Ooh, I'm a laggard. Oh, I'm an innovator, right? And there's none of these that are bad, right? You look at laggard like, oh no, that's so bad. Often it's actually really good. Laggards are very purposeful with their time. They're not going to jump on some new trend just because it's hot, just because it's buzzy, just because it's interesting. They're often, really, really good practitioner at what they're already doing, and they haven't seen a reason to change yet, right? So that may be plenty of reasons that a laggard isn't actually in a great spot, right? They may not be wasting as much time testing out new stuff to find that 1% improvement. Okay. But eventually that 1% improvement can start to turn into like a 50% improvement, right? It can start to turn into this massive change that they just haven't taken on. And so we kind of we do like a little sorting hat. Okay. Some people land on the evangelists side of the curve. Some people land on the follower side of the curve. And then we work together to figure out how the evangelists and the followers can work better together. Because really what it comes down to is often the followers, they just need someone who's fired up. They need someone who's excited about it. And so finding ways for the evangelists to connect better with the followers can help that spread of information, spread of technology work better through the company. All right. So next one he had here is number 6, which was beat burnout with wellness quotient. So burnout is unfortunately extremely prevalent, very common. Oh, actually, before I move on, any more questions about the mastering tech adoption, innovation, all that stuff? Make sense? Sweet. All right. So beating burnout. Okay, we got a few different types of wellness. Okay, and this comes back to WQ, which is wellness quotient. Okay, you've got an intellectual quotient, IQ. You've got, or sorry, intelligence quotient. You've got an emotional quotient, your EQ, right? How good you are at understanding and relating to people. We also have a WQ, wellness quotient. How healthy are we, frankly? How are you doing? Really, Okay. And so these are the three core elements of that. This is physical wellness, psychological wellness, and spiritual wellness. Okay. And I've defined each of these. Okay. So within these spheres, it's relatively easy to say, okay, physical wellness, I recognize maybe I'm eating super unhealthy food. I'm not going to the doctor. I'm never going to the dentist, whatever, right? I've got maybe some stuff on the physical side that could start becoming a problem for me later. And then through the wellness quotient assessment, you can figure out which of these three is maybe the bigger problem for you. Okay, so for some people, man, my physical wellness is awesome. I'm feeling super healthy. I'm eating healthy. I'm exercising. I'm doing all the good stuff, right? But then there may be a spot where it's like, man, but I don't feel well here, right? Maybe someone in my family passed away. Maybe it's wintertime and it's really dark out and it's always snowing and that's just a real drag, right? And so now that's maybe messing with me. That's maybe getting in the way of me being at my personal best. And there's the spiritual wellness side, right? That connection to deeper purpose, that understanding of something bigger than myself, and if I'm investing in that quiet and that peace and that calm. And so all of these are going to be at various levels for everybody. And what I like to do with people is find the one that's maybe the weak link, right? So maybe for this person, that would be their psychological wellness. And so you say, okay, so it looks like, maybe psychological wellness, maybe the mental side, maybe the emotional side, something there needs a little help. But what can we do? And that's often where the rubber meets the road and where nothing ends up happening. I used to work as a personal trainer, and the number of people that wanted to lose weight or get in shape or do whatever, I mean, everybody that started with us, they had this huge goal, this amazing plan. Unfortunately, not everybody achieved their goal, which is weird because it was important to them, because they care about it. They really wanted it, but they didn't get it. And why is that? Well, some of that has to do with the way they went about it. And so that's what I try to teach in this is there's better ways to make personal changes in your life to get the results that you want. So I call this the 3-step secret. Okay. So pick one of those wellness types, whichever one is maybe the biggest challenge, and then set what I call tight goals. Most people, when they set goals, and this is no offense to those that do a lot of goal setting, even those that are regular goal setters, most people are very lousy at it. Is we leave so much room for wiggle. We are not very specific or very clear, and we don't have any easy way of understanding it or measuring it, that when we start reflecting on it, it's no surprise that we didn't achieve the goal that we set out for, right? So an example of a goal that's kind of not all that great, kind of loosey goosey, would be, I want to lose weight, right? So I want to get in better shape, or I want to eat healthier. Okay. So that's what I hear all the time. I want to eat healthier. And so you say, okay, great. What does that mean? In 4 weeks, can you look back on your life and say definitively whether you are now eating healthier or not? And by what degree? And most people would say, yeah, I got no idea. Right. And so what we need to do is we need to take that good idea and we need to drill that deeper. Okay. And that's the process of setting tight goals. Okay. Where a tighter goal may be, I'm going to log my food every day as one of them. And maybe another one is I'm going to prep my food ahead of time. Okay. I'm going to do that on Sundays at 2 o'clock. Right. That's when I do that. And I do my grocery shopping related to that on Saturdays. So I have all the food. Okay. And I'm not burned out. When I get home and unload it and put it all away, last thing I want to do is touch it again and cook it. Right. So I've planned that into my week now. So now I'm recording it so I can definitively tell week by week if things have improved. And 2, I'm preparing it. So now I'm more proactive in the results that I'm going to get. That's just an example of what a tighter goal might be. And then 3, we nurture that feedback loop. Is what inevitably happens is things go wrong. Is we're doing something and it goes off the rails. And so what's critical is we take that less as defeat and more as information. And now we apply that information. Okay. Well, I went shopping, I brought it home, but I never cooked it. Right. Okay. Well, what got in the way of that? Why was it that I brought it home, but I never did anything with it? Well, I bought the lettuce, but I didn't know what meal I was going to eat with lettuce. I didn't actually have a plan for how I was going to eat the lettuce. Okay, so maybe what I need to do is I need to plan out what meals I want to have or what dinners I want to cook for the week. And then I buy food that fits those dinners. Okay, and I try that the next week. Okay, and I set that tight goal. Here's what I'm going to do. And we keep revisiting that. We keep circling that loop until we find more and more improvement. Okay. So I teach on that and how to actually achieve more, how to actually make more life change that's sustainable. Because another little secret is, as part of that feedback loop, and as part of setting tight goals, you need to find enjoyment in it. Because if all you're ever doing is stuff that you hate, you're going to stop, right? There's no reason to continue if it's punishment only, right? So finding ways to make it positive and finding ways to make it fit your lifestyle are absolutely critical pieces of that. Cool. Any questions regarding the beating burnout with wellness quotient? Make sense? Sweet. All right, I'm going to fly through these last ones super quick because I want to kind of open things up to more discussion. So team building sessions, we kind of talked about those with Melissa already. That's where I come in either virtually or in, and again, all the stuff I do virtually or in person. I can do hybrid. I actually prefer one or the other. I find it's a better environment if we do it that way. But I come in and I run some sort of 1 hour long session with your team. I've got some that are prepackaged, and I can also work with you guys on a custom one. But I come in, we do a 1 hour session. This is designed for creating more of that cross-pollination, getting people to know each other better, definitely that kind of team building, camaraderie kind of aspect. I do that as a one-off, but I also do that as a package where we can kind of do one per month where we're doing something like this. Okay, so that is the team building side. Offsite facilitation. So this is basically me coming in and helping to lead an offsite or assist you with an offsite, or be the the person that allows the manager to kind of sit in the participant seat, which can often be really, really helpful, especially if you have you don't want the boss dynamic to show up in one of those meetings. You'd rather it be maybe more of a democratic kind of feel, or maybe you want to explore something a little bit deeper where you don't have as much depth. That's a spot where someone like me can come in, can help go deeper with the team. And I do that by the half day or the full day. Last one, nonprofit board training. So this is applying any of that stuff that we just talked about in a way that nonprofit boards need. Often one of the biggest challenges executive directors are running into is they've got people that care about the organization on their board for the most part. Some people are there just to put it on their resume. For those that are actually there and actually caring, often there's this disconnect in how they can help, how they can bring their best skills to bear within the organization, within the board, within the committees, within the structure of it. And so a lot of these trainings revolve around how can we get the board more engaged, and how can we get them serving in ways that emphasize their strengths? Because just like I talked about with the kind of 3-step feedback loop, there needs to be some joy in it for them. Otherwise, they're going to naturally pull back, just like they will from their work. Cool. So all this, again, circles back to the team that loves Mondays. I've got this book coming out this month. So if you want more updates on that, just scan the QR code quick, and you can get on the list to get updates on when it's releasing and all that type of stuff. So I'll leave that up for another couple seconds. But let's move to Q&A. Let's go questions. Let's do maybe a couple minutes of questions, and then I'll kind of end with some final thoughts for us. And you can go unmute, you can drop it in the chat, whatever's easier for you.
Hey, it's Sharon.
Hi,
Hi.
Sharon.
Hello, hello. So I just want to say I'm super excited for you and this new book that you've got coming out. Wow.
Thanks.
Knowing you for so many years and just this is awesome. Like this, it's just so great to see that you have a book and now you're partnered with Simco. Yeah, definitely. Some of these trainings will be very forthcoming for my team and things like that. So definitely we'll be getting into some more conversations with you, Andrew, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And this may be helpful too, as I'll do maybe a quick explainer of how I typically work with organizations. So I used to be in sales, and my least favorite part of sales was high pressure. So I don't do that.
Was the sale.
So, yeah, right.
This is
It's
the actual
like, yeah,
sale.
yeah, is what I like to do though is build relationship, honestly, because I've seen what happens when you kind of skip the relationship part and just try to sell. And usually it doesn't work out for anybody. Sure, maybe you got the deal, but like, did you actually have the impact that you intended? And that's my goal, is that these principles can come to work within your organization, and they can actually provide value, and they can actually make real change for you. Okay. And usually the best way to figure that out is to talk about it, just to discuss, figure it out. Like, what's your current problem? Okay, what's some of the stuff that I do? If there's a match, okay, let's talk about how that might fit. So a lot of times it may be, cool, why don't I come in, maybe just do kind of a one-off workshop. Let's test that out, let's see how that goes. But it may also be like, hey, this framework, like, I want this embedded in my organization. I want people to never forget about it, and I want this to be the way that we operate. Cool. It's a little bit bigger scope. Here's how we would do it. So yeah, again, I have a lot of different ways that I like to work with organizations. And because I'm a small shop, it's me, I'm relatively adaptable as far as what you guys need. So Angela, do you offer anything that offers training to management level personnel as to methods of ensuring equal employment opportunity and prevention of discrimination? So I do not personally. I don't have a strong enough background within that legal framework to be able to give actionable advice. Melissa, though, I'll kind of tee you up, Melissa. Do you guys have anything that speaks directly to that equal employment and preventing discrimination?
The first thing that came to mind was we use Underberg and Kessler as our attorneys, and I know that that is something that typically gets run by them in terms of, if there's questions or if there's issues, they are able to, answer those questions and give suggestions on different ways to help that. But I think I probably could find something, I think possibly in general, just to help with that.
Sweet. So we're going to put that in the Melissa bucket.
As I'm thinking about it,
Yeah. So Melissa,
I saw your email.
Maybe you could follow up and share some options. I emailed you, Melissa. I love it. So a couple final thoughts too is, again, this is a little bit of an information dump, right? There's a lot of stuff that we could dig into and a lot of ways that I can help. I think the most important thing is that we kind of treat this more as a dialogue, the start of our conversation. And so a couple thoughts that I have, and I want to actually get your guys' feedback. So two possible next steps. Okay. One, let's just get on a call and talk. What do you need? What are you struggling with? What's going on within the organization? And then we could just talk, listen, and see if there's a chance that we can help each other. Okay. That's option one. Option two, as part of my book launch, I'm doing free lunch and learns as part of that. So I'm trying to get out and spread the word. Johnny Appleseed, just kind of getting out there, making it rain these concepts anywhere that I can. Okay. So if you have an organization, so some of you are business owners, some of you run your own shops, I will do a free lunch and learn directly related to the concepts within the team that loves Mondays. Usually I'll tie that directly into the motivational vitamins that we talked about. And do a 1 hour lunch and learn pro bono. The goal is to kind of, in a sense, kind of try before you buy, right? Test me out. See if you like my presentation style. See if your team resonates with some of the content. Might be an interesting way to kind of kickstart something. Okay, as well as if you're a part of other organizations, so you're serving on boards or you're doing stuff other places in interest organizations or trade groups. I'd love to present there as well. I've been doing a bunch for NHRA and SHRM and other HR related ones, but I'm industry agnostic, so I can help anywhere. So yeah, that's another way that I can add value for you. Is to do that lunch and learn. But curious for you guys, what do you feel like is a good next step? What do you need more of? What do you need less of? Like how can I continue assisting?
If I put my board hat on, I think that it would be excellent for our board at our children's place to take part in something like this. I mean, I think we all get along very well, and I just think it would be an expansion of that. I think it would be another way to learn more about the qualities of each person and kind of what makes them tick and why they're really on the board. What is their goal? What are they trying to get out of it? And making sure that not only can they help us, but that we can help them. So a little bit of everything.
I like that, Melissa.
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent direction to go in for us.
Yeah, is there a specific training, Andrew, that you're thinking out of those 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 trainings that you just posted?
Yeah, for the lunch and learn,
It,
or for
can it be dinner and learn?
whatever time of day. It's whatever hour. The hour fits where it needs to fit. Most people
Like a 6 or
associate lunch and
7
learn with,
hour? Can it be 6
yeah,
and 7 between
right.
there?
Okay, something like that. Yeah, so usually for that the lunch and learn style, I'll stick close to the vitamins framework because that does kind of echo and ripple through a lot of the through line of the team that loves Mondays. But I can adjust it a little bit, especially if there's one that was like, oh man, I actually think this one would be a lot more interesting. For that lunch and learn, I can zoom in on another topic if that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was something else I was thinking and talking with Melissa about as well. Would it be helpful if we did like a once a month webinar where I just went deeper into one of these and just did like a 1 hour version of it for whoever wants to attend it, as kind of a deeper preview? Because you got like the 8 minute preview of each of them, right? And we can go a little deeper into like an hour. And then often what I'll do is, a workshop is anywhere between 2 and 3 hours for getting really deep into something, getting deeper understanding, people actually retaining it, wanting to use it. And so, we could do like a 1 hour version where you can kind of get a little more experience with it as well. Is that something you guys would want to attend or be interested in?
So riddle me this before I answer that. Did your book, so the book is framed chapter by chapter of the trainings that you just described, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Like,
Yep.
like a book club monthly meeting.
Oh, a book club. Melissa, genius.
Give me the credit. It was Sharon.
No, I mean more Melissa, like,
He's-
let's do it. And
yeah.
Sharon, you're a genius.
Yeah, that would be fun. Like, we read the chapter, then we come back and we talk about it. Like, oh my gosh, I want to try this, or I did try this, or wow.
Oh, that sounds really cool. I like that. All right. So here's my thoughts for call to action for you guys and next steps. Okay. So some of you are already showing interest in like, cool, let's do a lunch and learn. Let's bring you in. Let's do it, whether it's within your business or maybe somewhere else you're serving. Reach out to me and connect. So Melissa is going to follow up with an email post call that'll have my contact info, as well as my calendar. Okay. You can just book directly on my calendar. If it's open, it's open. All right. So that's option one. You want to bring me in for lunch and learn. Option two, you just want to talk more. Like, hey, I kind of want to explore this a little bit. Here's our situation, right? Because almost everybody's got a situation, right? It's like, okay, we've got some employees that are really falling behind on some of this tech stuff. Like it's kind of, whatever, right? We can kind of talk through how it might look to bring in some of these concepts in a way that would engage that team and get them what they need. So if you want a deeper conversation, you can email me or book that link. And then I think what Melissa and I are going to do post call is try to figure out, okay, maybe we do some form of book club or kind of regular
Great idea.
webinar digging in deeper to some of this content. Does all that sound good? Good next steps?
Love it.
Awesome. And I went over by a couple minutes, and that is my apology. I always try to keep this as tight and close to time as possible. But I'll end it here. Thank you all so much. Melissa, any final words?
I just appreciate everybody jumping on the call. It's great. I definitely appreciate it, and we'll do it again because I learned a lot as well. So I think it's wonderful. So thank
Awesome.
you, Andrew.
Yep. Biggest recommendation I have for you guys is you're motivated, you're excited, you're fired up right now, and then you're going to get back into the rest of your day, and that's going to start to die. So make sure that you remember the spark of joy that you had as we interacted, and leverage that to make sure we take that next step. And I can help you get what you need. Cool, gang.
Perfect.
Thanks so much for being
Thank
here.
you all.
Thanks,
You got it.
Melissa. Thank you, Andrew.
Take care. Bye.